Hi, it's Ian here. Welcome to another 5-minute marketing tip. This video and the next couple of videos are all about the vital topic of differentiation, how to stand out from the crowd and make sure you get selected rather than your competitors. This first video is about specialization. Now, specialization, if you get it right, can be a great way of accelerating the growth of your business. If you get it wrong, it can lead you up a dead end that'll suck the life out of you. So today's video will show you how to get it right. See you after the break. Hi, welcome back. As I say, these next few videos are all about differentiation. Couple of quick caveats before we jump into the details. Firstly, remember that differentiation in and of itself is not necessarily valuable. You have to differentiate in a way that adds value to your clients, isn't just being different for difference's sake. Second thing is that when you're a service business in particular, differentiation on paper is easy. It's easy to write on your website that you're brilliant at X, you're great at Y, you're fantastic at Z, or to have it in your strapline. But really, in service businesses, clients judge your differentiation not just by what you say about yourself, but about how you act, their experiences working with you or their experiences interacting with you before they hire you. So differentiation is about more than just deciding on how to differentiate. It's about how you live that differentiation, but more about that later. So this first video is about using specialization as a form of differentiation. And there are typically two different types of specialization. The first is vertical specialization. So that's where you focus on a particular type of client. So clients in a particular industry or niche or different type of them. So I, for example, focus on working primarily with consultants and coaches. Dan Kennedy, the famous marketing guru, started off by focusing on marketing for chiropractors and dentists before he expanded his reach to all sorts of other businesses. So that's vertical differentiation. Horizontal differentiation is where you focus on a specific problem or solution that cuts across all different types of industries and sectors. So you might focus, for example, on female executives who've hit the glass ceiling and want career coaching to help break through it. Or you might focus on Google AdWords the display network. So all of those are applicable to every kind of niche, every kind of type of business, but they're a specific problem or solution. Or of course you could combine both. The danger is you get too narrow in your specialization there. But for example, going back to Dan Kennedy, he focused primarily on direct marketing, a particular solution for chiropractors and then dentists, and then moved on to other types of small business. Now, specialization can be really valuable for a number of reasons. Firstly, it makes you easier to choose. So if your potential client is an automotive, car sales company, and they're looking for sales training for their staff, then given the choice between a generic sales trainer and a specialist in automotive sales, they're probably going to pick the specialist, all other things being equal. It can also help you develop expertise much more quickly. So if you're regularly working in the same industry sector or on the same problem, same narrow problem all the time, you're going to develop a lot of experience and expertise in that particular area. Now, obviously, don't neglect outside knowledge and experience, because that's often where big breakthroughs come from. But by working in the same field again and again, you can become an expert in that field pretty quickly. Certainly much quicker than people who are spreading their experience more thinly across different things. Finally, it's much easier to get known in that specific field because the clients you work with will obviously talk to you about their peers in the same industry. You can write for industry publications, websites, etc. So, for example, most people in business would have no idea who ZS Associates are, but if you work in pharmaceutical marketing and sales, you absolutely know who they are. You'd always have them on the shortlist for any type of Salesforce work because that's what they specialize in. So specialization can be really powerful, but you've got to get it right. So the way to get it right is, first of all, to think about some of the clients you've worked with before or you're currently working with, in particular the ones that you've done your very best work for, who you've got the best results for, who you've really enjoyed working for, who've been very profitable to work for, and look for common patterns amongst them. Are they all in the same sector? Have they all had the same problem? Obviously, you won't get all of them, but look for a kind of majority in one area. And whatever you come up with when you brainstorm this through in different options has got to satisfy three big criteria, the three E's as I call them. The first is that you have to have expertise and experience in that area that sets you apart from your competition. So you have to know something more in that particular field. So that might mean that you've done more work in that area, you've got an established body of knowledge. But if you don't have that expertise and or experience in that particular area more than anyone else, then there's no reason to pick you more than anyone else. So you do need to have that. Second thing that you need to have is you need to have enthusiasm, a passion for that particular area. Because if you don't have that passion, then you're not going to continue to develop your knowledge. Clients are going to pick up that you don't enjoy working in that area or working with them. Now, having said that, passion is not enough. You'll sometimes hear people saying, just follow your passion and, the profits will come. I have not found that to be true. I'm hugely passionate about Newcastle United, for example. I have not found a particular way of making that profitable for me. I have found that you can get passionate, you can get enthusiastic about a number of things. So I've been enthusiastic about a number of different things in my life. I know my eldest son, for example, is at college right now. He's been enthusiastic about Dungeons and Dragons, Warhammer, computer games, Newcastle United. That may have been some of my doing. Really passionate about marine biology and zoology, and that's what he's studying at university. Now, he's moved from kind of passion to passion to passion, and you can do that. People aren't just restricted. I think it's a fallacy to think you just have one passion in life and that's all you can follow. So get passionate or find a passion that also satisfies the other criteria of you having some expertise and experience there. But also the critical one you mustn't overlook is that the economics must work. What does that mean? Well, when you look at your particular niche that you're aiming for, your specialization, whether that's a group of potential clients or a particular problem or a particular solution, firstly, there has to be enough clients for those to build a successful business. Now, you don't need millions. Most of us are sole practitioners. So, maybe we need, in your business, you only need 10 clients a year, or maybe it's 100 clients a year, but you need to have a realistic view of how many you need and what size of the market is that. Now, if that's more than 20, 30% of the market, probably you're going to struggle. You'd have to be the biggest player in that particular niche to get that number. But if it's 10% or less, you should have no problem in that market. It's also nice to have a growing market. So if you were, for example, doing websites, if that was your particular business, I would rather do websites for people in kind of green niches or health and fitness type niches, ones that are growing all the time right now, than ones that are kind of dying, or old-fashioned manufacturing, for example, where the number of businesses is shrinking. So you ideally want the area you specialize in to be growing, the number of clients to be growing year on year. That's going to make things easier for you. They also have to be reachable. And that's one of the challenges with a problem or solution focused specialization is, for example, that thing about women who've hit the glass ceiling in their career. How do you know from outside who they are? It's sometimes easier to identify engineers or people like that than it is identifying people with a problem. But you do need to be able to reach them. So if you tend to want to work locally and you have to deliver your services face to face, then obviously that sets geographic boundaries around what you're having to do. You also want to make sure that the people in that specialized area have plenty of money to buy services. Now, it sounds a bit kind of mercenary, but if your particular client specialization happens to be in a very tough sector with very low profit margins, it means they're not going to have a lot of money to pay you. So, for example, Dan Kennedy specialized in chiropractors and dentists. And one of the reasons for that is chiropractors and dentists make more money per client than a plumber, for example, or a beautician. Now, there's no harm at all in specializing in those other areas, but you do have to recognize you're probably going to have to work a bit harder because they make less per client than, for example, a dentist. And therefore they've got less money to give you to help them get more clients or whatever it is you do. So you do need your clients to have the money to be able to pay you. You also want to see, if you're looking at a particular specialist area, that there are existing players in that market who are being successful. Sometimes you can look at a niche or a specialization and there's nobody else in there and you can go, aha, I found a gap in the market. Usually what a gap in the market means is there isn't a viable market. Usually other people have looked at it, tried it, and found they've been unable to set up a successful business. What I would really like to see, my ideal circumstances, are to see that there are successful players in that market targeting the same sorts of clients, but that their marketing isn't all that great. So if you look at all the type of marketing I've been teaching you about, giving value in advance, having a lead magnet, nurturing relationships over time, systemizing your marketing. If you look at the players in the field and they're doing all right and they're not doing any of that sort of marketing, that's a great opportunity for you to sweep in and kind of beat them up a bit, because you'll be doing marketing in a more effective manner. Now, ideally, you also want to be differently positioned to them. So if they're going for the low end of the market, you might go for the high end of the market, or vice versa. And the other key final factor for the economics of the market is you have to be able to deliver a brilliant ROI for your target client. So if you were to look, let's say in my case, I help my clients get more clients themselves. So if I look at the cost of my services, how much I'd like to charge, and I look at the typical client I might be aiming for in that particular niche, I need to make an equation where I say, well, if I'm going to charge, £2,000 for a day's work, then from that day's work, my client has to get £20,000, for example, of new business. That's a really lovely 10-to-1 return on investment they'll be getting from working with me. That's kind of a no-brainer. If you're down at the kind of 2-to-1 or less range, it's going to be difficult. It's a really tough decision for your ideal client to make that decision to hire you. You want to be working in areas where you can deliver your clients a brilliant return on investment. Now, of course, you may not be able to calculate return on investment so easily. You may work in the leadership field or something like that. But just think about the benefits. Make sure the particular clients you're working for are, out of the different choices of people you could be working for, are the ones who get the biggest benefit from working from you. So that's my quick rundown of the 3 big E's that you should use to decide whether the area you've chosen to specialize in is viable for you. So have you got expertise and experience that puts you kind of the top of the pack, or could you acquire that quite quickly? One of the things working in your favor is that many competitors are a bit lazy and complacent. So often by doing some research, doing a survey, going out and interviewing and talking to a whole bunch of those clients, or even just doing a couple of projects pro bono, you can build up expertise more than people already have in that particular area. So you need the expertise and the experience, you need the enthusiasm to keep things going, and you need to check out the economics. Is this viable for me? Am I working in a growing niche where there are plenty of clients, where there are other successful businesses that I can do better than and establish myself as a leader in that field? On that topic of establishing yourself as a leader and authority in your field, that's next week's video. It's one of the best ways of differentiating yourself. I'll see you there.